Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. We'll be discussing the psychological thriller, A Stranger on the Beach by Michelle Campbell. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. If you're new here and you're wondering, what is a Buddy Read? This is a feature where Classy and I select a standalone title that we are both interested in. Then we have a fun, candid conversation about the book or audiobook. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, a cup of tea or coffee, whatever it is, grab your drink of choice and let's settle in for this discussion. As always with Book Chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect. You've been warned. Don't miss our movie adaptation fantasy casting toward the end of this podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support the podcast by sharing it with one book nerd friend or on your favorite social media space. That will really help me out and I appreciate you. You can find both Classy and myself on Instagram and Twitter. If you've read the book or listened to the audiobook and would like to contribute to the conversation, be sure to join the Shelf Addiction official group on Facebook and talk about this title with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. Hey guys, we've got a lot to cover today, so we're going to jump right on in. Joining me is the Buddy Reads co-host, Classy. Welcome back.
Thanks, Tamara, for having me back again.
Of course. So we're going to jump right on in. Today we are talking about A Stranger on the Beach by Michelle Campbell, narrated by January Lavoie. Classy is going to kick this off with the synopsis, so go for it.
Okay, I am reading the synopsis from Goodreads, and it states, there's a stranger outside Carolyn's house. Her spectacular new beach house, built for hosting expensive parties and vacationing with the family she thought she'd have. But her husband is lying to her, and everything in her life is upside down. So when the stranger, Aiden, shows up as the bartender at the same party where Caroline and her husband have a very public fight, it doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary. And that is our synopsis for A Stranger on the Beach.
Yes. Okay, so before we officially get going, I know I said this in the intro, but one more time for good measure, spoiler alert, okay? Don't say we didn't tell you. That's that.
You've been warned.
You've been warned. Okay, so we did a lot of, I think, hunting before we settled on this title.
Yes, we did.
And I'm feeling good about it so far. Are you feeling good about the choice we made?
I am.
Yeah.
We've been breaking it down to two choices, do an hour, and then listen to it. Or we both do an audio, so we listen at least an hour. And I was sold probably the first 20 minutes, if not sooner than that. I could tell I picked this one over our other choice. So yeah, I think we made a good choice here.
Yeah, same. I think also I liked the narrator's voice, which we will get into more later, but I think that also helped me settle in quicker to the story.
Yes, I think I did tell you that too. Like, I like her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Indeed. And I felt like, okay, so let me just give you my kind of overall experience while I was listening to this audiobook. I want to say for the first 70% of this book, I had this strange feeling of, what is the word I'm looking for? I was very, not paranoid, but I was getting kind of twingy about it. I wanted to hurry up and figure out who was lying, who could be trusted. And I was oh God, it's giving me that kind of feeling that I'm not comfortable. And it's weird to say that.
I thought of it as a true it was truly psychological. It was crazy. It was a page turner. It was, and I felt that same way too, that I felt like I didn't know who was the unreliable character. Was it Caroline? Was it Aiden? because at the beginning of the book, the way she comes off, she's like, this guy, you just weren't sure. It was like, who do I trust? That's how I felt. Maybe that might be my best description. Like, who's telling the truth? Who do I trust? I don't know who's telling the truth here. So,
Right. Because
yeah,
in the very beginning, I think we got Caroline's point of view first. And that whole evening was so horrific for her. I instantly felt like I wanted to just take her at face value. But
right.
then when the next part started and Aiden told that same pretty much event, like an opposite stuff happened, like when they were in the bar, that whole interaction at the bar.
Right.
I'm like, wow, so she felt it was one way and his was pretty much damn near opposite of what she's saying. And that went on for the whole book. So she
It
says,
did.
I was scared. And he says, she, came after me, or she approached
Right.
me. She came on to me. And the other way is the opposite. And it's like, what, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
Who is telling the lie?
I think too, at the beginning of the book, she kind of says she wished she never met him or talked to him on the beach. So it did give us the impression, I believe, I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember, but right at the beginning, before she gets into the story, she's like, it's a guy standing on the beach staring at our house. And she basically says, I never should have approached him, or my life turned upside down once I met him. So that's that feeling that I had, like, uh-oh, what did he do that made her feel this way? But
Right. But you know what totally made everything click, and that feeling of unease kind of just went away immediately, is when I figured out who she was telling the story to. So the whole time I'm thinking she's telling us the story, the audience, or a, diary or something. And she is telling the police that story. She is
mm-hmm,
telling the police that story, and we're hearing it. And then I
right.
feel like Aiden is showing us what's really happening.
Mm,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
didn't,
Because, like, think
yeah,
about it when she's being interviewed, and then that police officer was like, oh, I feel so bad for that woman. That is the story she told her.
right. Yeah. You know what? I didn't see it that way. But you're right. You are right. Because, yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Again, when we start talking it out, I do see it, because there was a point where it who was she telling the story to? Was it the one detective, the
Yes.
female detective?
Yes. The
Yes.
female
Okay. I
detective
know I
that
know exactly.
she
And that's
wanted
when
to believe her because she
right,
felt bad for her.
right. And then something clicked with her, that she realized she realized
It
the
wasn't her.
sister.
It
Right.
was okay, so I think what got the detective's wheels turning that something was wrong was when the police officer from that town, because the woman was like a state police detective. So the detective from there, or the police officer from their town that didn't like Aiden, said,
The
"Hey, I need
male.
you to, yeah, like, let's
Right.
go talk to this old lady. You've
The
got to hear
neighbor.
this." Yeah, the
That's right.
neighbor.
That's been there since
Mhm.
Aiden's grandfather owned the property. Right. Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so that whole time she didn't even want to believe the old woman. So, um, but actually after that cop, I forgot his name. I should have wrote it down. But he was like, "Look, you're not trying to hear her because you've already decided you believe her."
Right.
And then I think after he kind of read her the riot act, she kind of was like, "Well, wait a minute, let me think about this a little more." And then things started to kind of just come together.
Yeah. Yeah, because she started questioning the sister, who, how can you not know where your sister is, or how did Caroline just disappear all of a sudden and no one knows where she's at? But they had like a trail on her or something. So yes, I guess we have to kind of go back and give a little more of the story? Because we kind of went from
We did. We went to 0 to
A.
100. Because I feel like that's important to know, because I don't want anyone to be confused if you haven't read this book and we're talking about all these things. But the truth of the matter is, we do know that she's not telling us a story. She's telling the police a story. And it's
Yeah.
good to know, like thinking back on the segments, that Aiden was the one telling the truth. So when we go through this and we have this lens of all the things we're talking about, like thinking of it with the end in mind, I feel like it makes more sense, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's true. Right, because if we tell the story the way it was told, it would get confusing
Mm-hmm.
with Aiden telling his side and Caroline telling her story. So,
Right.
okay, so where do we want to start?
So, okay, we're not going to go pen by pen, but essentially Aiden and Caroline have a relationship, which we feel like is probably a one night stand based on her story. But according to him, it was a relationship.
And you know
That was
what? And
awful.
it was. And at this point,
Yeah.
I almost thought he was like delayed, like he was mentally, like cognitively delayed. And I wondered because he had served time, because, we have to mention too that this
Yeah.
man served time before he killed a friend by accident that we knew
Yes.
of. But the more you listen to the story from Caroline's side, maybe he was just a murderer. I mean, he could have, but it was manslaughter. It was an accident. But when you hear her tell the story, you think this man is not wrapped tight. He might have a few screws loose, because it was just a one night stand. And he
Yeah.
fell head over heels for this woman.
Fast.
Man, she was beautiful. She was elegant. And I think too, it made me feel like he was unstable is that his brother even saw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was like, no, bruh, she is not that into you. And he was like, no, she loves me.
Yeah.
She loves me. So,
Yeah, so this whole story through Carol, until we get to the, arrest part, that kind of spreads out a little bit. But this whole first part of the story, Caroline is saying all of this happens to her in a span of a few days. She meets him, they hop in the bed. The next day they're driving around. He's threatening her. He won't leave her alone. He, pretty much kidnaps her for a day. I mean,
right,
all these things happen. And then the next day he's around, he's calling, he's leaving all these messages. So it's like all of this happens in a really short amount of time in her world.
right.
And then in Aiden's world, he's like, what? Like
We had this
we've been,
loving relationship.
right. That's been going on for a while. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was basically, we had long walks on the beach and we held
Yes.
hands and
We've had
and
conversations and she understands me. She understands
yes,
what my plights. She's so nice. And
she
she's,
listens to me.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And
It,
she's like, this crazy psycho has my keys and I'm in his apartment and he's got a gun.
right.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
like, I go through his while he's in the shower. Oh, and he put her um his name in her phone, and was calling her like 10 times, and her husband saw. Oh, and then we had to get back to the husband because, well, they had the one night
Yeah.
stand, but prior to the one night stand, as mentioned in the synopsis, they just bought this beach house. Carolyn has this big, basically what, like housewarming party.
Yes.
Would you consider it that? And she was
Yeah.
trying to invite everyone in the neighborhood, all the elite, his business partners, and he shows up with a woman,
A
and
Russian woman.
a Russian woman, and
Yes.
says, "I want a divorce." Basically, he never did say that he was having an affair with this woman, but everyone assumed he was having an affair. The woman was dressed sexy, or I won't even call it sexy, because she considered it maybe like trashy, because it really wasn't, or it wasn't classy or of affluence. She was dressed a little different. She was a little rough. She was Russian. And he was trying to say she was a business partner, but his boss was there and basically said she doesn't do business with us.
Right.
So now Caroline thinks her husband is...
The sister, Caroline's sister Lynn, is also like, no, dude, he's lying. That can't be right.
No, he's having an affair with her, and the Russian woman didn't dispute the affair. She basically said, you need to make your mind up, make a decision. And that's when Jason tells her, I want a divorce. And then she loses it, because he said this in front of everyone. So everyone at the party hears that he wants a divorce. So that's when she kind of turns to Aiden, or he comes to he was bartending at that party.
Yeah, he was bartending, but he didn't speak to her at that point. He was kind of just there. And then the next day, so her husband leaves, everybody leaves, her sister kind of tucks her in like, okay, we know this is crazy. She starts drinking. The next morning, I think that is when that whole bar thing happens, because she's drinking. The husband comes home and he's like, okay, we need a divorce, but you can just take everything. We just have to make this divorce happen.
Right.
According to Caroline.
Yes.
So she stumbles off. She ran out of liquor. She's like, oh, let me go to this bar, right? She canceled her lawyer appointments and she goes to the bar and she's making nice with Aiden, but she's shocked that such a good-looking, young 27-year-old man, is hitting on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Do you need a moment?
I'm like, girl, get out of here. Okay.
I believe that's what her sister told her. Basically, like, yeah, right. Who?
Right.
What did you say? Because her sister didn't hold any punches.
No. I mean, what she really did was she used her experience to basically take advantage of a young guy who's thinking with his smaller head.
Yes. Yep.
Basically, she like, I know what I can do to get this guy to do what I want and twist him around my finger. And she did just that.
Yeah. But I think too, what was a turning point for me, and I'm going a little further past what we just talked about. Remember when his brother Tommy said, I knew she was a grifter. And then I don't know if that was like at that point remember when you said you knew it?
Mm-hmm.
Was that, well, you knew what happened? Is that the point? No? Yours is a little later? I can't
remember. I don't know if it was later or earlier. I should have written it down.
Okay.
But I feel like the part where I knew that she was the liar was when... let me think. Okay, so was the part where the daughter... No, that was after. I feel like when Aiden woke up in his car and he didn't know what the hell was going on. Because after that, the police detective talked to her daughter, and the daughter was saying how close her parents were now, and that reinforced it. And at that point, so let me just backtrack a couple sentences.
I think that was after.
Yeah, so the very first time when I said Caroline is a liar was when he woke up and he was like, act like he didn't know what the hell was going on. At first I thought, did you see that split personality?
Yeah.
What is this? And then I was like, no, that's not what happened. So That's when I thought, and that whole time, like the detective, I was on Caroline's side. I feel like I was naturally on her side until that point.
Because when he woke up in the truck, that was after when he woke up, when he had all the blood on him, right? After, right. And he wasn't sure who killed Jason.
Yep. And that was following Caroline's, telling of that evening, which sounded like a horror. It sounded like a horror film. How she expressed how Aiden was acting, trying to stab people and shoot, guns going off. It sounded like a horror film.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wakes up to him sitting in a chair with a gun, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for somebody to think that up, you crazy, girl. You crazy. Because
Oh,
you blame that
it,
on that guy.
yeah.
Oh my God.
But
So,
this was a true psychological thriller, and it's been a long time. I don't know about you, but it's been a long time for me that I've really found a book that I can really call psychological thriller, because there's
yeah.
been a lot that will, even on Goodreads, and they'll have the label or the tag, and you read it and you're like, thriller, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, psychological,
Not so much.
no, but
Yeah.
but
But this had it.
Michelle did her thing here.
Yeah.
She had me going, I know, and she had you going, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you were feeling anxious. You were just like, okay, who, which way
Right.
do I go? Who do I turn to? Who's telling the truth? And at one
Yeah.
point, I really did think, Aiden was, the bad guy, because his brother had painted him out. Even listening from the brother, side, or Aiden's telling of how his brother viewed him. I think that even almost sealed the deal for me, because Caroline wasn't telling Tommy's view. Aiden was telling how Tommy felt about him. And it
Yeah.
basically was just his rough upbringing and not listening, but it kind of sealed the deal on him being unreliable and him possibly being a killer. I've covered for you for so many years, and I've gotten you out of this and that, and then him, help getting him out of the house when he set the alarm off. So it was just like, yep, it's him.
Yeah. And, but like, even like, okay, so let's jump forward. So in the end, Tommy gets in some trouble for helping Aiden out again. He helps him. He walks, he kind of like perp walks him away from the house after he breaks in again, Caroline's home,
Mm-hmm.
and he lets him go. And then later people find out that he basically did not arrest him, did not take him to the station. He just let him go. So he got in trouble for that. But I feel like when it came to Aiden confronting Tommy, when he was going to say, I'm guilty, to try to let his brother out of it, the way that Tommy talked to him made me feel like he didn't think he was a bad kid or a bad brother. I just think that he thought he's just dumb as a box of rocks and you just keep messing up.
Right.
Not that he was evil. You know what I
No,
mean?
not bad, but untrustworthy would be. Um,
I say dumb as a box of rocks, not mean it. Because let me tell you, this boy is dumb. He don't
yes,
listen. He's got a
but
hard head. He does not listen.
right,
He
but
told
dumb
him,
people. Even though he was dumb, I still thought that the brother thought he had some criminal tendencies. That's how I felt. Not just, I wouldn't say like to the point of being the murderer, but how? Yeah, I felt like he just thought, I got to keep you out of trouble.
yeah,
You're
because he
always
doesn't
in trouble,
listen.
and not to say that he was just like pure evil, but he had, like you said, he, with you being dumb as a box of rocks, you could possibly hurt somebody, and don't, just like he did with his best friend. He accidentally killed him. He could hurt somebody and not even realize, dude, that one stupid action just caught, you just killed somebody with that one dumb act. So yeah.
Right. But okay, so I kind okay, so now you got me split two different ways. Which way do I want to go? So first, so let's just go back to the manslaughter thing. Later we find out that he actually didn't even start the fight. The fight wasn't as it was presented at all.
Right.
The ex-girlfriend lied.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. She
So
did.
there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. She did. Cause
So then I feel like the brother knew that. I feel like because there was also, okay, so now I'm going to switch back. So the brother, I feel like he had told him before, stay away from that house. Don't go near that section of the beach. And he kept doing it. Just like the lawyer says, stop talking. Don't tell me. He keeps talking. I'm like, what is wrong with you, you idiot? What is wrong with you? You have this lawyer telling you to shut your mouth and you keep talking. She says, do not approach Caroline. What does he do? Caroline, did I do it? Caroline, oh my God, you idiot. That's what I'm like, what is wrong with him?
Oh God.
It's like this.
The poor baby, poor Tink Tink was in love. That's his, he was in love. That scene right there, Tamara, had me crying. I was like, this poor baby loves her. Who killed him, Carrie? You or me? Which one? And I'm like, oh my.
Right.
I did. I had to drop my head. I was just like, oh my God.
I laughed. I'm like, this idiot, man, you are dumb as hell. Dumb.
Yeah. And at that moment, I felt like, I bet you his brother was like, see, this is what I'm talking about.
He don't listen.
No.
He do what he want to do. And he doesn't think about the consequences of doing what you want to do. Yeah. You're impulsive.
Oh, that was an understatement. I mean, he was supposed to go straight to Tommy's house, right? After getting picked up, after Tommy saved him from Caroline's house, did he tell him to go home, or did he tell him to go to his house? And he wound up going to Tommy's house and helping. Oh, no, he said, help out the wife and board up our house or something, right?
Right. Help out your sister-in-law and board up the house. Help your family
who's helped you.
Yeah.
And then he still decides, again, like you said, not listening, to go back to Caroline's house. But he lied to, I can't remember the sister-in-law's, Kelly might be been her name. But he lied to her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Just like you said, dumb as a box of rocks. Just dumb. And that, again, almost sealed the deal where I thought, dude, he's not wrapped up tight.
Right.
He's not wrapped
He's missing
tight.
some screws.
Yeah. I thought he was missing. I really did think he was missing some screws. And then that made me feel like, see, this is why Carolyn picked you.
Yes, because you're so easy to manipulate.
Yeah. The more he kept doing that kind of stuff, I was like, yeah, this is why she picked him. She used her beauty and her so-called wits to wheel him in, because she realized how she saw the look in his eyes immediately that he was probably infatuated with her. And she's like,
he was lonely. Nobody liked him.
Yeah. And then come to find out, they basically had researched his background and knew that he had committed manslaughter. So he was easy prey. I can't remember if he was the original prey, but I think once she realized who he was, she was like, oh, okay.
I think they were looking for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Her and her husband, when they were trying to sort it out, they were looking for someone. And he had several times to get out of this if he just listened to his brother. His brother said, stop going to that house.
Yeah.
If he wasn't going down there, she would have never saw him.
Right.
The brother says, don't mess with that lady. He says about it. He does. Mm-hmm. He takes him away from the house and says, go home. He doesn't. If the brother had arrested him, and he said this, if Tommy had arrested him like he was supposed to, he would not have been there for that whole situation.
Right. Right. Because he knew he had been at the house. His charm was, his saint charm was right under the window. So he's like, I knew you were there, but I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. But, again, here's this little brother who's trying to get from under the thumb of Big Brother, who, he made it seem like all his brother wanted to do was use him at the bar and make me serve him and his co-workers drinks all day. And it was, I mean, the more I talk about this book, this woman plotted this book so well, because
Yeah,
there are
she did.
moments where she sets it up perfectly. You have Tommy and all the other cops sitting at the bar saying, Aiden, give me a drink, and it was always on the house. So,
Mm-hmm.
so now you're thinking Tommy's a jerk. He's just using Aiden to get free drinks and he doesn't care. You know what I mean? All those little things. I remember those things, and that does make you, like you said, now this is somebody compared to our last book who was throwing some things up on that wall
Mm-hmm.
and made a few things stick, at least in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
to throw us off. And she did a damn good job.
Yeah. I mean, because even in my opinion, Aiden's opinion about how his brother is treating him is shaded by how he feels about himself, I feel like, because I think Tommy was babying him, and yes, he was looking out for him like someone that does not listen, which he is.
Right.
But Aiden was taking that personally, like most little, younger siblings do.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, they disrespect me. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what it
You're
is,
right.
dude. He's
You're
trying to keep your
exactly
ass
right.
out of trouble.
Yeah.
So,
He doesn't see, the love and the protection that he has. He just sees him as he's trying to hold me back, or he doesn't want me to succeed, and he doesn't want this and that. He just thinks he only sees me like this. But you're right.
right.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just can't, this book at the end, it was one of those books where I loved the book, but then there were certain points where it's like, I really can't even tell you why I love this book, because she had me going each way. It was like, I really do like this book, but how do I really tell you that I like
Mm-hmm.
this book? Because my mind was
Yeah.
blown at certain points. And then it was just blown again when you said she was telling this story to the police. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
You're right. She wasn't talking to us, the reader. She was telling her story. She was basically trying to tell her side of the story.
Yep.
So yeah, Michelle did a great job. Because basically the husband, in the middle of this, what was this? Was this a hurricane that was coming through their town?
Yeah, I think it
It
was.
was a hurricane. And what we were talking about boarding up the house, a big storm was coming, and Caroline was trying to go back to the beach house to cover up the windows and, battle down the hatch, or whatever they call that. And in the meantime, her neighbor said somebody broke into the house because the alarm went off. She gets there. She's afraid, right? Because now she thinks it's
Mm-hmm.
probably Aiden, because he's so in love with her, and he wrote "die bitch" on her car. So now, yeah, scratch "die bitch" on both sides of her Escalade. So now she's scared, and um, and come to find out, in this whole little story, uh, apparently a fight ensued, and Jason came in, and Aiden killed Jason. But once the storm dies down, this is when Aiden is in the truck, right? And he doesn't know what the heck happened.
Yeah.
Come to find
So,
out.
okay. So let me just did you realize before the cops figured it out that Jason was alive? Because I did. Did you figure that?
Yes, I did. And I'm trying
Okay.
to remember when.
So when the old woman, there were two things. One, I think the old woman's story came first when she was retelling her evening to the police, and then the daughter. Those were the 2 points that when the old woman said, I saw 2 people carrying a body.
Yes.
That instantly, I said, that is Caroline and her husband dragging him to his own car.
Thank you.
That is what I thought.
Yeah, and
And
that's what I
then,
thought as well.
yeah, and then later when the daughter talks to the detective secretly, And she says, they're always whispering and, they're always, talking like really seriously about something that's going on. Something is wrong, da 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 da. And she's like, and then the detective asks, well, do you think it's cheating or what do you think it is? And she's like, I don't know. They seem closer together. I'm like, they're
Mm-hmm.
plotting that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They're plotting.
Yep.
So hell yeah, he's alive. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And when the old lady described the body types, I'm like, Aiden was not, I mean, he was strong, like in shape, but it was something about the difference of the other body that was carrying, like the other
She did
male body.
say it seemed like it was a woman.
Right. And I was like,
But then they were like, but did you see a woman? And she was like, well, it was dark. So then they kind of was like, nah. And remember at that point, the detective still was like, I believe Caroline. So
mm-hmm.
she was making excuses like, well, maybe it was too dark. The old lady can't see,
Right.
Who else could it have been?
And it was stormy. Yeah. Who could it
Right.
have been? But like you were saying too, why would I think the thing that made me realize it was Caroline and her husband is why would Caroline help Aiden carry her husband to the truck if she wasn't, she was trying to make it seem like he was the killer and she had no, you know what I mean? She had no part in it. So.
Yeah, which was also kind of, I think, where she messed up because, I feel like at one point after she said she was pistol whipped, right? She said that he hit her with the gun. But I thought she also said that he had kind of threatened her that you're going to help me or else kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I kind of thought maybe she might have been forced into it. But the instant that came out, I'm like, oh, no, that's not what happened at all.
No. And there were a few instances too where, this was at the beginning of the story, and then it came back around to me, this same statement, like, I think when they first met, she threw out there, why don't you kill my husband? And he said, I'll do anything. I think that's when he said, like, I'll do anything for you. And she was like, I was just kidding. You would do that? And then I was like, why would she say something like that? And then that's when I thought, okay, maybe Aiden is a little, unstable. And then she threw that out there to him. And then we started, kind of seeing where he was like following the guy and he saw the Russians. And then she makes that statement later on. And I think this is when they're in the house at the storm. And she said, well, you're the one who wanted to kill him. And he said, you wanted me to kill him. She's like, I was just kidding. I would never want you to kill my husband. And I think that's at that point where I kind of said, something isn't right with Caroline. I think now I was beginning to see how she was basically putting these ideas in his head to make it seem like these were all your thoughts. You were the one who really wanted to do this. So.
Well, you remember, okay, so earlier on, we had two opposing scenes. One scene where they're in the shower and this is Caroline's point of view and she's saying, oh, he took the money. And then Aiden's like, I'll help you take care of it.
Right.
And she's like, what do you mean take care of it? He's like, and he implies. And then she starts thinking almost to herself, like, what is he talking about? This makes me feel weird. What does he think what does he think I meant? So she has that. And then the opposing version of that was Aiden and her. I think they were laid up in the bed. He got finished telling her what happened with the manslaughter case. And I think that's when she asked him about killing her husband. He's like, I'd do anything for you except that.
Right.
Except
that's
that.
it. Yes. That's the statement. And like you were saying, right, that little interaction right there came back to me because I think that was a crucial piece in the story because it was almost like setting us up for what was about to happen. But she did it really clever, and you would almost miss it if you didn't pay attention. So again, that's
Yeah.
another good mystery writer. How they like to drop those little breadcrumbs at you. So yeah, and that did come back. And I was like, I do remember that statement. What do
Yeah.
you mean?
And I feel like Michelle Campbell did an excellent job writing characters that were all unlikable.
Yeah.
Because it's so rare for me to come out liking a book where I didn't relate or connect with any of the characters in a personal way. All these people were batshit crazy.
Hannah too. I mean, I didn't even care
Hannah
for her.
too. Hannah is Caroline's daughter, and I instantly hated her.
Yeah.
Instantly. I'm like, this little brat just gonna take her daddy's side? She don't even
I
know
know.
what's going on.
What did you
Like,
do,
how do you
Mom?
talk to your mother like that?
Right. Yeah, she immediately accused her mom.
What did you do?
But she did a great job, because even the mom was not like motherly, but when you listen to Caroline, she was very motherly. She missed her so much. But then when you listen to Lynn, Lynn basically said she was offhand's mom. And Lynn and Hannah were, closer than, well, even Caroline said that Lynn and Hannah were closer than she and Hannah was. But she made it seem like she was the mother of the year. Oh, I just miss her. Now she's away at college.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think I
that's
liked,
more of her selling her story.
yeah, I don't think I liked anyone. I think the only person I probably did like is the female detective who was she a detective, or was she from the FBI?
I feel like she was a detective at the state level.
Okay.
That's what I feel like I remember.
Okay. And the other guys were local. The other guy was
Right.
okay. Okay, so yeah, state
Because
level.
remember, she said this is out of your hands because your own chief is this dude's brother.
Right.
And we can't trust you guys to not be trying to do something.
Yeah. Right, because at one time I thought they were trying to railroad Aiden because they felt like he got away with killing his best friend. So at first,
yes, that one police officer,
yeah.
And I can't remember his name again, the one that dragged the detective to the old lady's house.
Mm-hmm.
He was the same one that arrested him out the car.
Right.
He's the same one that dragged the detective around and kind of helped her investigate because he swore that he had no bias toward him.
Yeah. So again, she did a great job throwing these red herrings, all that at us, because I did at one point when he was sitting in the station and he wasn't sure, he's like, I took a drink and I woke up, he said, Caroline gave me this drink and then I woke up and I don't know what happened. And I was like, oh, I do remember that drink that he said tasted a little strong. And I was like, this is a bartender. He knows when something is a little strong.
In there.
Right. And come to find out she had put Ambien in there. So
like a lot of it. A lot of it.
Man.
Like I wonder if he could have slipped into a coma. It was so much.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. He had to be like, well, he was dead weight, but yeah, he had to have been probably, so he wouldn't remember anything, him being dragged. He didn't even realize he was being carried. So she probably.
No, because he was out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was out.
And
now, one thing that did kind of come back around to me about Caroline is remember like really early on when we first were introduced to Lynn, who is her sister, she talks about how her sister has this accent and she doesn't have that accent anymore because, so that made me think like that tells us that she is a damn lie. Like she doesn't even present herself for what she is.
No.
Even when it comes to how she speaks and where she's from.
She says she worked hard at getting rid of that. Was it a Boston accent or a Jersey accent?
Yeah.
Something.
I feel like it was Jersey.
Okay, right, because Boston doesn't seem less than. She really was making it seem like this accent was so demeaning and lower
Yeah.
class. So yeah, I think,
Which tells me she can act. She been trying to change basically her history.
yeah, yeah. And then even the daughter said how hard her dad worked to keep mom in the lifestyle she wanted. And I was like, wait a minute. Caroline said she worked hard and put him through. Or am I in the right story? Girl, I had to
Um,
stop for a moment. Like, is this the same story? Didn't she say she
yeah,
like
but
put
I
her
don't
career
know
on
if
hold and put him through?
she did
Yeah, okay.
because she was supposed to be a designer or something
Right.
like that, and she
And she
didn't.
said she put her career on hold to put him through school, and then he became like really successful. So again, like you said, here she is, this great actress, lying to us. I mean, she could have, but at this point, everything
Yeah,
she says is a lie. Can't be trusted.
she is psycho.
Yeah.
She is like every man's worst
Yeah.
nightmare.
But you know what? I digress. I said I wasn't going to say that, but I think I did like Lynn. Lynn was probably like the realist, I think, besides her. Okay, maybe I didn't like Lynn because she did,
Liz was dumb too.
because she
Like,
did
why in the
cover up
heck
her
would you?
sister. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but she approached Aiden, which
Oh,
also was another clue to me that Caroline not wasn't really concerned for Lynn's safety. She was pissed off that she approached him,
yeah.
period, because she didn't want anyone talking to him and getting a different story.
Right.
Because remember, Aiden was trying to tell her, like, talk to her.
Yeah.
And so again, like the dummy he is, he goes after her instead of just letting the woman go, and he didn't have ill intent, but he was trying to talk to
Bad
her.
luck followed
And
that poor child.
oh my God, right? So Caroline was very upset that Lynn, went and confronted
Oh
Aiden. She was
gosh.
like, why did you do
Yeah.
that? Like, stay out of my
Yeah,
business.
she did.
Yeah.
Do not say anything. Don't, she was darn near like whispering whenever the husband was around. And Lynn was just like, wait a minute, when did you and Jason all of a sudden become buddy buddy? And you guys are like couple of the year. He just is having an affair with this Russian woman. Now you guys are like newlyweds.
Trying again?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, I think at one point I did like Lynn because she was very vocal. It was no holds bar, and then I lost the like for her when I found out that she was helping harbor Jason, who was not killed. They faked his death and was holding him in a warehouse that Lynn and her husband owned, or some kind of property that they owned. So, and like Aiden said, you could have helped this case a lot sooner. But again, it was her sister and she was protecting her.
And I get that
I do
because I
too.
think most older sisters want to protect their younger sister. But, I would be the mean sister that be like, look, we got to figure out a way to get you out of this, but this MFer got to go. I'm not helping him because this is some crap.
When
He
you
is
say
supposed to
MF,
be
are
dead.
you talking about the husband or are you talking about
Jason?
Yeah, the husband, yeah. That's how I see.
Like,
I'm the older sister. Are you the older sister?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
And
am.
I have my sister, God rest her soul. She's had some crazy boyfriends, and if she would have came to me um, about something like this, I'd have said exactly what you said. Now we're gonna figure out how we're gonna get you out of this, but this mofo,
He got to sink or swim on his own. I'm not helping him.
or you'd be like, I never liked him anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, see?
Right. Let's see what we can do here.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would have had her butt on a plane to, Cuba immediately.
Yeah.
Forget the money. Let him get the money. You get the hell out of here. Let him figure it out.
But again, her motive was greed. They both were greedy. But it seems like in the scheme of things, I believe Caroline was probably the greedier of the two.
he probably was doing it for her, and things just got out of control.
Yeah.
And he ended up owing all this money. I mean, he was stealing money from the Russians.
Yeah.
Of course, they come for you until you die. That's why he wanted to fake his death.
Yes. Oof. Yeah, and
Like,
then
let the Russians have him. Like, you got a phone number? I'm like, you got a phone number? I will call the Russians and tell them where he is.
Yeah, right.
Like, get rid of him.
And poor Aiden had followed them and thought they were trying to kill Caroline and Hannah. He was like just Captain Saver. He was I'm
Right. But
coming
he
to
was
save.
doing the most in
He
the
was.
worst way.
Yeah, he was.
Like, oh, I feel like your daughter Hannah is in trouble, so I'm going to go talk to her, but I'm not going to tell her who I am. And I'm just going to act like a creep instead.
And Caroline was probably thinking in her head, this mother is just messing up our whole entire plot. Gosh. Yeah. What she probably thought was going to be a simple plot turned just way south, went way south for her. Because she probably was just like, I'll just have him do this, this, and that. And he made her work extra hard.
He wants to save her.
Yes,
he wants to save her.
She shouldn't have had sex with him. She put the ooh-wee on him. He lost his mind.
He did immediately.
Yeah, he lost immediately. His mind.
She must have pulled all the tricks out, like all the tricks.
I think the shower did it. No.
Lord.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so there was a lot going on in this book, and I think it was well put together.
It was a lot going on, but she wrapped it up really nice. She did it well. I don't think there was nothing that was done. You know how like some plot holes, and there may have been, but nothing stood out that was glaring to me. I felt like she wrapped this story up really nice, and I was left satisfied with the ending, with everything.
Same. Because in previous books, we've said, well, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Why did they do that? That we didn't even come back around to that. Like, that was dumb.
Right.
We've said that in other books. But in this one, I didn't have any of those. Well, why did this happen again? Or why didn't that connect? I didn't have any of that.
No, even in our conversation right here, how we would say we would come back to, now I see how that happened and how that wrapped up, and it all just gelled. All the pieces fit. Kudos to you, Michelle Campbell. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what else to say except for kudos. This is just one of those books, even with what we've kind of told you, granted with spoilers, it's one of those books like you need to read it to see what we're talking about.
We scratched the surface, guys. Yeah. There's more.
Yeah, there's so much more.
All right, so I concur with all of that. So we're going to take a quick break. Now is the perfect time. When we return, we're going to talk about the audiobook narrator. We're going to give our rating for A Stranger on the Beach. And last but not least, we are going to do our movie fantasy casting. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Okay. And we're back, guys. Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about the audiobook narrator. Classy, I think we both enjoyed the audiobook, yes?
Yes, I did. She did a great job. She did a great job with the male voices, the female voices. God, I love this book. I enjoyed this book a lot. And the narrator, I liked her immediately. I could feel, I think she did a great job. You know how the sexy kind of like the sexy siren kind of voice. I felt like she had that down pack when it came to Caroline, kind of like seducing Aiden. I don't know if you felt that, but I felt that, that come hither kind of voice. But then she would switch it when it came to the hysterical Caroline. And
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was something that I immediately recognized, that, that I could tell when she was trying to seduce Aiden or try to be nice and sweet. And then all of a sudden it was just like, what the fuck? Why would you do?
She also had a clueless Caroline,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know why he would think that.
Yes.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yes.
Okay.
She
had it.
Yeah, she was well-rounded. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. I forgot about the the clueless Caroline. Yeah. And she did the inflection, all of it. You could recognize it.
Mm-hmm. And even the stupidity of Aiden. And I'm sorry,
Oh,
I come
he
down on this
was.
character
Oh,
because he is
baby.
dumb.
Yeah.
But you could hear it when he even is talking to his lawyer. He's like, "But why would Caroline do that to me? But what? Like, you are a dummy."
Yeah. There were moments I wanted to hit him in the back of the head, like,
Exactly.
dude. And I loved when it came to Lynn's voice, because Lynn had the Jersey accent, the
Yep.
hardcore, like, mob wife. I felt like when Lynn was talking, all I could think of was like a mob wife. And she had it down packed, the cursing, she did a great job. I loved hearing
Yeah,
Lynn, her do Lynn's voice. So
that was
yeah.
fun. And she did a good job with Hannah too, like the little bratty 19-year-old
Yeah. Yep. Little
or
bratty
whatever age
college
she is.
girl would
Yeah.
try to play innocent. Yeah, she did. She did a great job.
She was trying to get it on with her mommy's
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend.
And poor Aiden was really strong. Nope. She could be my daughter. She could be my stepdaughter. Nope.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I was like, goodness
Oh,
gracious.
wow. Yeah. Yeah. So January Lavoie did a really excellent job narrating. I feel like she added value. She was definitely a value add. And I think it just made this story even more interesting to me. I don't know if I would have had the same punch if I had read it, probably, but I just know on audiobook I was just really all in.
It was
Like, I didn't want to stop
Yeah,
listening.
it was very entertaining. Yeah, it was. I felt the same way. And the only reason why I did like stop in moments, because I wanted to be as current as possible when it came time to us doing the podcast. So I slowed it down, but I didn't want to, because it was like a train wreck at some points. It was plowing through at one point, and I didn't want to stop. So
Yay.
yeah.
Wonderful. I love when that
Yeah.
happens. Okay, so we've talked about the book. We've talked about the audiobook narrator. Let's give our rating. So, Classy, why don't you go ahead and give yours first?
Gosh. Man, I want to give this 5, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give her 5 on this one. I wanted to say 4, but I really enjoyed this book. So I'm going to give it a 5. I don't think I really
Woohoo!
had
Yay!
anything that would mark it down to a 4.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 5. And I think I'm struggling because I know, giving out them stars is just like,
Girl, right?
I really don't want to give you this money, but
I know. I feel the same way because I hold tight to my
I know
5
you do.
ratings. I mean, it's like pulling money out of my hands.
Yeah.
You'll never get it. But I feel the same as you. Like, I'm sitting here like, well, maybe 4.5, but I don't do halves. We always round up or down
Right.
based on Goodreads.
And that's why I went up.
And I'm like, yeah, and I feel like 4 doesn't quite do it justice. So I feel like I'm going to give it a 5 because at the end of it, yes, girl, at the end of it, I was like, wow. And just now, the excitement and fun I'm having discussing it
Yeah.
really reinforces that I think it's 5
Yeah.
worthy.
And then your statement of we only scratch the surface. You know what I mean? For what we just discussed, and there's so many other layers to this story. It also just made me say, you know what? We don't do halves. I'm going up. I'm
Yeah.
giving her 5.
Well, this is monumental. I don't think we've ever both given a 5 on a Buddy Reads
No.
before.
And agree, right. I don't think you've ever given a 5 or myself,
Oh, I know I
and
haven't. No,
let alone us both giving a book a
both.
5.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this is great.
Right.
I mean, this is a monumental
Yeah.
time. Like, wow, this is our turning point, and we've caught our stride, and we're just going to have a slew of excellent books after
I hope
this.
so, because we've been waiting.
Yeah.
We've been waiting a long time for this. Thank you, Michelle.
Woohoo. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to switch gears, and we are going to cast our movie. I have a cast and Classy has a cast. So we've decided on 6 characters that we think, I guess, made the biggest impact in the book. Obviously, we can't cast everyone, so we settled on 6. And we're going to go through our picks. And of course, if you want to see photos of these actors, you can go to shelfaddiction.com, find this episode, and then you can see our cast side by side, and you can leave a comment there, or you can join us on Facebook and talk about it there as well. Let's jump into it.
Okay. I'm looking at your choices. You did good, ma'am. I'll give you some credit.
You did too. You know what? We always like each other's choices.
Yeah.
We really
And the funny
do.
thing is, this time, your picks were none of them were any thought in my mind for any one of the characters, because I know, like, a couple times I was like, I thought about her, but I didn't pick her.
Mm-hmm.
In your picks this time, I didn't even think of any of these people.
Yay. That's good.
Right? All right. So you want to start with yours?
All right. Let's start. So we're going to start with Caroline, the main character, the, manipulative, sneaky, lying Caroline. For her, I actually picked Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. Like, I feel like, well, first off, she has to be an older woman.
Right.
But also look young enough to pull a 27-year-old.
Right.
And also come off as knowledgeable enough to know how to manipulate somebody.
Yeah.
I feel like she could pull it off.
Yeah, because she's played a few roles where I believe, like, what was the one? Was it Bosses, where she would seem really, really sweet, but was it something Bosses?
Horrible
Bosses. Yeah. So when I saw your pick, I was like, yeah, I could see that. Where she would come off as a very professional woman, but also horrible. Yeah.
Yes. Horrible. Yes.
So my pick was Naomi Watts. I don't think I've really seen Naomi in too many things. I believe when I thought of her, didn't she star in, gosh, what was the name of that movie? Was she like the one that was like an exotic dancer or something? And I think there was, I don't know. Okay. I can't remember the name of it. And is it Demolition?
Well, Demolition. I'm actually looking her up now.
No,
I feel like she was really well known for like Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
She was also in King Kong.
Yeah.
She was,
But it was another.
Also,
Wasn't she in a movie like with dang it. It might have been this one with Jennifer McCarthy, and she was like with it's Saint Vincent, and Bill Murray was in there, and I think she was like the exotic dancer or something. Neighbor.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I know.
I
But
don't think I saw it.
I felt like with that role she was a little versatile. Because she's a very pretty woman, and I felt like she would be, like you were saying, the woman who could pull a 20-something-year-old. I feel like she's older but youthful. I believe she's
Mm-hmm.
older. But I mean, when I'm reading the book, she was one of the first people.
Yeah, she was born in 68.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
older.
And that's what I thought. And as I was reading the book, she came to my mind.
I just she as an actress is kind of hit or miss for
Okay.
me. Uh I feel like because as I'm scrolling through her stuff, like I try to watch some stuff with her, and I'm like, snooze fest, what's happening?
Yeah.
So bored.
It's
And then other things, I'm like, oh, it's okay.
And I don't think I've seen her in anything. I'm looking. She was an Insurgent. She was in
Yeah,
Allegiant too. So she was in
yeah,
that.
she was Forrest's mother. Remember,
That's
her
right.
hair was
That is
dark.
right. So yeah, there
Yep.
weren't too many things that I have watched her in, but her face came to mind when I was reading the book, like young, blonde. So that's why I picked her. I don't
Okay.
have any rhyme or reason, unlike you. All
Okay.
right.
Well, let's move on to the, what do we call hard headed but gullible Aiden. I picked Ansel Elgort. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And he is really well known for like um, Baby Driver. He did.
Hmm.
He was also in The Fault in Our Stars. He was really well known
I
for
remember
that.
that,
He
him in
was
that.
And he's also in the upcoming movie adaptation of The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. So he's got a
Ah,
pretty decent role in that. And I think, don't quote me because I did not check, but I feel like he was in some other teen movies that I've seen before.
okay.
And I also picked him because he's like legit like 25 or something. So he's right in the wheelhouse, and I can see
Oh,
him acting like this woman really loves me, and I'm such a piece of what. No one likes me but her.
okay.
I'm going to do anything for her. I can see him acting in that
Okay.
role. Yeah.
Cool.
Who'd you pick?
I picked Zac Efron, and I just saw him as um, that handsome guy that gets everybody's attention, but he um, only has eyes for her. But I also, when I picked Zach, I remember seeing him in the Ted Bundy movie, because when I
Oh,
picked
yeah.
Zach, it was before I realized that he was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm reading the book, and even though once I realized that he was not, the killer, aka my Ted Bundy in my head, I still had him as my Aiden. So that's why I picked Zach.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I don't hate him. He all
Yeah.
right. I don't hate it. He's
Okay.
all right.
He's
Yeah,
got the.
I
All
can
right.
buy it.
All
I'll
right.
buy it. All right. So let's move on to Jason, who is Caroline's husband. I picked Bruce Greenwood, and this is not somebody that a lot of people would know by name. But if I say like he was in the Star Trek movies, he is like one of the main characters on The Resident, on the medical show on
Hmm.
Fox, which is a very good show. Side note, The Resident is the shit. They're going to have their third season, I
Wow.
think. And he's in the upcoming movie adaptation of Doctor Sleep. He's been around,
And I
so
have not seen him before.
you don't watch the Star Trek movies?
I don't know. I, yeah.
Oh, maybe
No.
not.
No. So what did he star as in?
Oh, you should watch The Resident, by the way. I wholeheartedly stand behind that.
And you said this is a Fox.
It's a Fox medical
Okay.
show.
All right. I'll have to look that up.
Who'd you pick for Jason?
I picked, come on, sweetie, Andrew Lincoln. And I remember, I know, she's such a
Andrew
good guy.
Lincoln.
But
Yeah.
he's from The Walking Dead. He was in Love Actually, which is
Yep.
so old, like 2003 old maybe, but good ever, still good stuff. And I picked him because and again, as I'm reading, Jason was a very handsome guy from,
Yeah.
the book. So I just saw him. I don't have any
I
other
really like
word.
your pick. I like him. I think that was a good pick.
Thank
I think he could definitely do it.
Yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
I saw him in that warehouse with the scruff, when they were saying he had the Dales because he hadn't shaved. He had been
Hmm.
basically living in that warehouse hoping to buy time, and saw him. That was my pick. So again, I don't have any rhyme or reason of, I think he's the great actor, this, and that.
You're like, he physically fits. There you
Yes,
go. All
I
right.
feel like he does.
Okay, so for Hannah, who is Caroline and Jason's daughter, I picked Kaylee Bryant. And she's another one that you probably wouldn't know her name right off. But if you watch the Legacies series on the CW, those Vampire Diaries, the originals fans that also now watch Legacies, oh, she is one of the main characters on this show. She's so good. I love her. And I'm like, I could see her being real bratty because she's bratty on the show a little bit. She plays a teenager.
Oh,
And she actually is a teenager.
okay.
I think she's like 21 or something like that. I wrote down her age somewhere. No, she's 19, so she's legit a teenager.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm down for it. I like Kaylee Bryant, and I think, I just felt like she should be a brunette. I felt like she could be a little spicy, a little mouthy.
Mm-hmm. I've seen her before. I have not seen the show, but I've seen her face before. So when I saw your pick, I was like, yeah, I could see that. Where,
oh no, she's 21. My bad, not 19. She's 21, but she looks like she could be 19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does. I think you did a
Yeah,
good pick. I almost picked a
thanks.
brunette because my Jason was a brunette, but I went blonde for Hannah. I picked Lily Reinhart, and she starred in Riverdale. And I've only
Yeah,
watched a few episodes of Riverdale, but I felt like I'm trying to see if I've seen anything else she was in, and that's a no. Doesn't look like she played it too much.
I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel like she's overexposed for some reason.
Who,
Like,
this girl?
yeah, I feel like just everyone is talking about her constantly, incessantly. Like, because, I go through a lot of news articles for the book stuff and,
Mm-hmm.
for TV, and she's always popping up all the time. Like, people are constantly talking about this show and about her. And I'm like, eh.
And she looks like she's
I
going
don't
to
know.
star in Hustlers, which is a movie I want to see. She's going to star in that. And Chemical Hearts, which comes out next year, which I don't know what's that about, but
It's based off of this book that I've actually have had on my shelf like for over a year. I think I got it as an ARC from
oh,
somewhere.
okay.
It's been sitting up there. It's a drama romance, I think.
Ah, I have to look that
So
up.
it's just, I don't know. I just haven't gotten to it.
See, and I didn't even know this girl was like overexposed. I just,
Well, to me, and that's why I said it's an unpopular opinion probably because
yeah,
people seem to love her, but I'm like, man, she just keeps showing up everywhere. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get the fascination.
okay.
So,
Yeah, and
you know what I'm saying?
I just thought she looked very similar to Naomi. I was trying to do the mother-daughter thing. I also thought she could do, she has that little snooty kind of look to her, but she could come off as innocent, but also a snob bratty. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I picked her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I went with Toni Collette for Lynn, who is Caroline's sister.
I like your pick.
Yeah, I like her.
Yeah.
I just feel like she fits. I can see her having a Jersey accent and being kind of, you know,
Mouthy to
your husband's a
Caroline.
loser. Let's,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see her turning the tables and hiding her and
Mm-hmm.
chasing down Aiden, try to tell him where he can get off, like leave my sister alone. I can see her doing the whole
Yeah.
thing. So if you guys don't know Toni Collette, she is the best well known, I think, in like The Sixth Sense and Little Miss Sunshine, which were both excellent.
Yeah.
But she's been good in a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah. I've seen both of those, and she was
Yeah.
excellent. I picked Elizabeth Moss, and she
For the blonde hair too, or
for the blonde. Oh no, she was someone who, while reading, I immediately thought of as Lynn, and I picked her because I've seen like some of the trailers for Hustlers, the movie Hustler, which is kind of like, is it mob? Kind of like Mob Wives, I want to say. Is it Hustler she's in? No, maybe not. Gosh darn it. Is she gonna? I'm sorry. I'm talking to myself.
I don't know. Y'all should know she's in The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah,
Everyone
she's
should
in The
know her from
Handmaid.
that, if nothing else.
I thought she was in something. But anyway, I just thought of her, and I just felt like I think she's a good character actress. And I know I use that word a lot, but I just see her as being able to turn it a little bit. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the expressive eyes she has or, yeah, but that's her. That's who I picked.
Okay.
Yep.
So last but not least, we picked Tommy, who is Aiden's brother. And I just picked Mark Ruffalo because I remember his acting before the Marvel MCU took over the world.
Yes.
Okay. And he is a good actor. All people, like the young people, just be like, that's the Hulk. No, he's been in a bunch of stuff and he can actually act.
Yeah, he is great.
Yeah.
I really like your pick, Brian.
Yeah. And I can see him being like a chief of police of a small town, like bossing his brother around, trying to, do the right thing, even though it's not the right thing.
Yep.
I can just see him in that role.
When I saw that, I was like, yeah, she did good. She did.
Thanks.
She did good. I'll give her that. Oh no, I think the one movie, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Moss possibly was no, that's not either. The Kitchen. Have you heard of that one? That's with like Tiffany Haddish and Jennifer McCarthy.
Oh hell, I probably
and their
wouldn't have
wives
watched
of New York gangsters. That's why I thought of Elizabeth Moss, because I'm like, she had that mob wife gangster kind of voice. But anyhow, I picked for Tommy, Mark Wahlberg, who is probably one of my faves for these kind of roles. I just see him as being that big brother who, bossy. I'm trying to protect you. You don't want to listen, but I'm trying to protect you. I think we're trying to think of the role. Five Brothers. Even though in Five Brothers he was hilarious, but I kind of see him with that, bossy brother kind of role. So, I love
get it.
Mark. I see him as a guy.
He's evolved as an actor over the years, and I can see it.
He has. Yeah. And I was like, and I haven't picked Mark. I like Mark. Mark is going to get a role in my show.
He's hired.
Right. It's time. I'm giving Mark a role.
Yeah, so I think both of our cast are really nice casts, but it's funny when you like visually look at the two slates of actors. It's like there's a clear difference in my slide versus yours. Like mine's is like mostly dark-haired people, different looking, and yours is mostly lighter.
Mhm.
Except for the guys. We all have guys with dark
Yeah.
hair. Both of us. Yeah, so the women, it's like the guys, we were almost in line with like our visual things about what we thought for the
Mhm.
characters. But when it came to the women, we were really
Right.
opposite.
Because my girls are really blonde. Yours are more,
Yeah.
well, one is a brunette and the other two are more
Dark
like,
red and yeah, like just brown with
Mhm.
highlights and just
Yeah,
brown.
and like saying their skin tone too is really, they're really pale compared to yours, which are more like I guess that would be olive. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
but yeah, they are.
Even though Toni Collette, I think, could be also under the fair skinned category, but I think her makeup just makes her look more olive with these other women.
But yeah,
if that makes sense.
it's
But
always
yeah,
fun.
it's like we kind of had, so different to see how like we totally kind of saw the women differently, but the men kind of similarly.
Mhm.
That kind of weird.
I like them dark. Dark and brooding.
Dark and brooding. Well, Zac Efron brooding is.
God, here we go. Last time you gave my guy the blah.
Sorry. Well, he's okay. He's okay. But, you know.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so that is it for our fantasy cast, guys. Let us know if you have any people in mind that you think would be a better fit than what we did.
Oh, we would love to hear that.
Yeah, and do, check us out in the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official, and you can vote on this cast and see whose cast you like better, mine's or Classy's.
Me.
Woo, fun time. Right. Okay, so that's it. Are we done, Classy? Do you have anything else?
No, I say read the book. That's all I want to say.
Okay. I say listen to the audiobook. There we go.
Yeah, that's true. Listen to the audio. She was great.
Yes. Okay, so that's it for today. And again, if you'd like to talk with us about this book, you know where to find us. And until next time, take care and happy reading. Bye, guys. If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.